Hello my beautiful friends, welcome. Anna, Alchemist of the Arts here. Please excuse the slightly terrifying lighting. I have got my little solar light on in the workshop to film this because we've got a crazy storm going on. The kids are still off and I just got 5 minutes to do this, so let's get into it. Let's talk about the eclipse. Let's talk about the eclipse energies and some of the themes I'm seeing, feeling, intuiting, and messages that want to come through and feel like I have to share. I feel like this time is really, really important, and perhaps for some of us, this could be some of the biggest kind of transformational energy that we've ever experienced. And that can feel like literal death energy, like the death card in tarot. We might be looking at things and thinking, well, I don't know how I can go back from this. And in a great many ways, the things that are being revealed to us right now, the things that are coming up, coming to the surface, that are being brought to our attention, are the kinds of things that happen around these eclipse energies, and they're things that can't go back in the box. Once the box has been opened, you can't put it back. So you could be feeling that Pandora's box kind of energy. And actually there is this vital necessity for us to be able to go into and explore some of these really deep, perhaps latent energies that have been even potentially festering away inside of us, things that perhaps we've been holding on to. Maybe it feels like a veil has been lifted, a cloud has been removed, a fog, something. It's like a level of something that obscures our vision, our clarity in any way. And the reality is, seeing something with absolute clarity can be incredibly painful. It can be shocking, it can be alarming, it can be unnerving. It can be world changing, or worldview changing, or life changing. And for many, it perhaps won't be that dramatic, but I feel like many of us will be going through something, and this could be a very internal process. And it feels like things may be crumbling, changing. And the way it keeps being shown to me is that anything within us that is fragile, you know, whether it's an ego attachment, whether it's a construction of self that is built upon the sand, that is not built upon a strong foundation, it's anything that has this sense of fragility within it, that is being brought to our attention right now. That's the thing that we're being called to look at, to work on, to work with, because it's those things that are potentially holding us back. It keeps being shown to me, and this is something that I keep working through, is this sense of obligation, or the traps, the ego traps that I found myself within, where I feel like I have to do things a certain way, or need to do things in a certain way. For example, my relationship with social media is changing drastically, and actually my motivations, my goals for using it, for doing it. And I think this is partly fueled by my own experiences through a lot of the reading, and through creating a deeper connection with myself, my work, my working processes, and my own creative authenticity, because it's a constant process to decondition ourselves from all of these constructs that keep us feeling a certain way. We have to do things a certain way. You know, it feels like there has been this really gradual dawning of awareness that suddenly at this moment in time you might get the clarity, you might get a catalyst, you might get a door opening, you might get a door closing. And what it is, it's initiating a new start, it's initiating a change, perhaps an ending. All endings are new beginnings, and it's a making way. But this thought of deconstructing that which hasn't been built upon the strongest foundation, this is like a time where we get right with us. We have to put things right within us. We have to find that the deepest truth within us, which means continually deconstructing the narratives, deconstructing the false beliefs, or the things that we've held on to that have kept us limited in any way. And this is a gradual and continual process. So this could be in any area of life. It is all of those thoughts and things that we hold on to, and it's pushing us to step out of anything that is no longer aligned, that no longer feels right, things that we've just have served their purpose, things that we've just been rolling through. And stepping further into a deeper sense of meaning and truth for ourselves. And this is what I mean when I say get right with yourself. This is us putting things right within us, because my experiences won't be the same as yours, but collectively we're all having similar experiences. There are similar echoes, there are themes, and it does mean that you can see this deeper contrast. But there is this energy of challenge, an energy of opposition, an energy of drawing lines between, of setting apart. And it feels very much like you can imagine if all of a sudden the foundations that you've built upon feel rocky, if things feel fragile, if things feel at risk, then the human body's response to that is to go into flight or fight. It's to go into preservation, into self-preservation, into fight mode, and to then, you know, facilitate the protection of what it is that we've been holding on to. And actually this energy feels like leaning into, scary as hell as though it may be, the necessary deconstruction of some of those things that we've been holding on to, because it's time to allow them to go. It's a very much a repeated spiritual theme that has gone throughout history, that you can see in multiple different belief systems, religions, spiritual concepts. There is this idea of something breaking down, of being destroyed even, so that it can be rebirthed, so that it can come back to in a new form, in new life. And for me, this is very much about deconstructing belief systems, and in that process awakening and actually just allowing some expressions of self to come to the surface, because it takes so much energy to restrict and to hold things back. And you know, to make it personal, it's not about me, but you know, there are new expressions of my own creativity that I want to put out into the world, and sometimes you just have to give yourself the permission to do that. But sometimes there is an entire process that leads you up to realizing that you haven't been giving yourself permission, of working out why you've been restricting yourself and holding yourself back, so that you can then grant yourself the permission to do that. It is different for everybody. Some people will find these energies far more easy to navigate through. And like I said in last week's video, they are repeating themes. Things are cyclical, and we go through ever deepening levels of our own personal growth work, of our own self-realizations, of our own changes and our own challenges. So, you know, work with what you're working with right now, and trust that it's leading you to the version of you that you need to be in the present moment to do what it is that you need to do. Trust that. But also, if you have that feeling like there is something else, and perhaps you've been holding yourself back, or perhaps you feel contained or restricted, maybe it's time to break through some of those walls or barriers or boundaries that we've been holding in place, either through our own perception or through holding on to the perception or judgments or expectations of others that have been keeping us restricted. So there is an immense amount of freedom comes through this energy. It's very Kali kind of energy to me. But this freedom comes through a willingness to let go, to allow endings, to allow change, and to be in that process, and recognize that these energies around this eclipse right now could be the beginning and the initiation of that process. And you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to complete all within the space of 24 hours, 36 hours. You know, it can be a process, and sometimes it's these processes, it's like taking the left path or the right path at a crossroads, when normally you would have gone one particular way and you felt that that was your way. You reach that crossroads or the fork in the road and you go the opposite way. It begins a brand new journey. So it's giving yourself the grace and the freedom to allow for those endings, to allow for things to potentially phase out, or maybe it's an initial just, I'm not doing that anymore. And like I said, with me with social media, it very much means readjusting my relationship with it, and you know, that's exciting. That's like a breath of fresh air and a whole new level of freedom. And I know I've been saying that for a while, but that for me has been a gradual process. And, you know, I feel like this is, on a collective level, a huge part of what so many of us have been working through. Everybody is coming at this energy or having their own experience of this energy in a very individual way. It is not a one-size-fits-all thing. And if you are aware of those changes, aware of this process, we can bring with it tools and skills to better facilitate our own growth. But for some, there could be very unexpected changes and challenges, or challenges to their own viewpoints, which can be very destabilizing. So I do feel like we have to be aware of that as well, and that sometimes people will be dealing with this. And I think people can, around these energies, you know, the word lunatic exists because of the effect of the full moon that has been historically recorded on people's behavior. You know, that's a science thing. Some people will be deeply affected by this energy and have absolutely no idea why. So you might have people acting out of character. There could be unpredictable energies, and I think there is this huge outpouring of truth that comes from very difficult places, and that's going to be very, very challenging for some people. Some people won't be able to stomach it, and the veil will just go down, and it's just a flat not looking at that. Whereas other people, they will initiate a new process within themselves, as, you know, there is some sort of level of re-identification or a shift in our worldviews. And, you know, again, it's a process. It's a process that creates change, and this change is necessary and vital for our growth. But being as grounded and as calm within ourselves, so that we can minimize the impact of these changes on other people, is going to be really, really important. And that doesn't mean suppressing what we're feeling. It doesn't mean hiding what we're feeling. I actually think it's very, very healthy to find healthy ways to express this. But like I said, it's getting right within you first. And that might mean, you know, maybe it is having a support group or a support network. Maybe that's a very particular person, like a counselor or a coach if you're going through very specific life changes. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's having a close and trusted counsel with a friend. You know, it's different for everybody. I think it's very important that we can recognize that even though we have these individual experiences, we don't have to walk the path alone. And that actually sometimes opening up a conversation gives somebody else permission to do the same thing, and that brings with it new levels of existential freedom for both parties. So, you know, I'm just gonna wrap that up there because I don't want to talk for too long at you. But these are the kinds of themes that are coming up, and I would really wholeheartedly suggest that if you have a grounding practice that works for you, you know, this over the next couple of days, definitely do what you need. If that, for me, it's always walking in nature. I will be doing lots of that, but I'm also doing a lot of journaling, and through that journaling there is a lot of introspection, a lot of personal deconstruction, a lot of getting to the deep core of my own wounding and things that I'm working through, and things that I'm healing and resolving, and things that I am overcoming, so that I can go to the next thing that it is I want to do. That's my process, and perhaps you have a different process, but for me, journaling is one of those incredible tools. And if you've never tried it, maybe try it, because you might find it helpful for you too. Let's get some readings. What have we got? Okay, we've got Urus upside down. Let's try and move this so you can see it. Okay, I think Urus very much, to me, in this position, in a divinatory capacity, this very much touches on our resistance, and perhaps the overpowering nature sometimes of digging our heels into something, of persisting and of resisting those changes. And for some of us, these could be really holding on to it's like the final threads, you know, you hold on hardest just about something is about to leave. Whether it was a relationship, whether you've just, you know, if you feel like something's slipping away from you, our instinct, and it's a primal instinct. If you look at the Moro reflex in babies, if you feel like something is slipping away, if you feel like something's gone, your instinct is to grab it, to reach for it. And this is literally saying to me that maybe this is the energy of release, of allowing something to go away if it wishes to, of allowing something to move on, of not holding them too tight. Conversely, there are other things that might be very, very worth digging our heels into and to stand firm in. But because Urus represents strength connected to the Aurochs, perhaps there is this, again, it just brings me back to anything that is not built with truest strength. No matter how good the house is, if it's built upon a poor foundation, it will fall. It doesn't matter how long it takes, eventually it will fall. The cracks will begin to appear, and you will see that the limitations in the structure because of the foundation. So it very much feels like reassessing, and anything that you are building right now, anything that you want to build, trust that there is a time, there is a perfect time for what it is we're doing and what it is that we're building. And it's the strength of that foundation, it's doing that groundwork, is always going to help you build back something stronger, something better than it would have been if we'd have just ignored it. I love this. This actually came out in my own personal reflections, and you know, Gibu is a gift of equal energy exchange. It's a gift for a gift, and you know, if you received a gift perhaps through Viking times, there would have been an expectation that you would have had to have given something at a later date. There is this energy of reciprocity, and what I'm really getting from this, I don't like to use the word karma, but there is a sense of things coming back to us, recognizing that sometimes we have to be in the giving state, sometimes we have to be in the receiving state. There is a blessing through all of this transformation work. There is a blessing and a benefit, I want to say, of allowing this energy exchange and energy shift within these changes and challenges at this time. And the benefit of that will be different for all of us, but it requires a mutual participation on our part. It requires us investing energy to receive energy back of the same. Now, interestingly as well, for me, this ties in very nicely. The concept of this rune, the way it's been devised with modern interpretation and the modern divinatory system, there is one of the laws of energy is, as you are, so you will attract back. It's like the law of vibration. So everything, if you were at a particular level, if you were at a certain energy level, in a certain mood, in a certain state of being, I think mood is probably the simplest term for us to understand it, is, you know, if you're in a certain mood, you notice how the world reflects back to you that same mood. And if you're really happy, you know, things, you receive better energy back. And it's not that you do it for that, you literally get back what you put out. So I think there is a message in this one of remembering what you're putting out and how that influences what you experience in your daily life through living because of the laws of energy. Let's get one more. We've got Alchemist in the reverse, and for me this has always been representative of endings, of changes, of death in some ways, but it's not physical, but the necessary changes, the necessary endings, and recognizing that perhaps something is complete, perhaps something feels like it's done, perhaps something is no more within our lives, and perhaps actually when you finally step into that energy, you go, oh, it's like a weight's been lifted. For some, I'm just getting there is a sense that perhaps there is a path that you've been walking, that there was this level of expectation that you had to walk it, and others around you expected you to walk it in a certain way. And actually there is this a choice point right now, and a choice to move in a different direction, to walk a different path, that you then decide to do things differently, and then with it a freedom. And I feel like we should always be leaning into that authentic path within us, the authentic truth within us, where we're being guided, what it is that we want to do as individuals. Of course, we have our duties, we have our obligations and responsibilities to various things within our lives, but we're not talking about those necessarily. And sometimes it is a feeling or a belief that we are obligated to do something. I'm just going to say, for example, you've trained to do a particular job, maybe you invested a lot of money into doing a particular job, and then you now feel like there is a big shift within you and you no longer wish to do that job. That is one of those obligations. It's more like an energetic obligation where it's like, but I did all these things and now I have to do that, and that becomes part of this ego identity, this outer sense of who we are and who we've told ourselves that we are, based upon credentials or qualifications. And actually there is a release and a surrender in saying, if this no longer feels like what I want to do, if it feels like there is a vast and wonderful world out there that I wish to explore, and myself within that exploration, who do I want to be? What do I want to become? What do I want to do? How can I best serve? How can I best become the best version of myself for the people in my life? It's those kinds of questions. And then you make those choices and you move into something new. So lots of questioning, lots of introspection. Take as much time as you need to go through your process on this one. Do not feel like you have to have all of the answers right now. I think that's the most important energy that I can put out with these eclipse energies, is do not feel like you have to have all of the answers right now. These changes, this intensity will probably bring forward questioning, catalyze new beliefs, old beliefs, and get us to ask lots of questions. And it's our job to allow for that process without needing to have all of the answers in this moment. I'm going to leave it there. Right, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here and being with me through this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. Sending you all my love, and I will speak to you again really, really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.